I think, good evening, everyone. I think it is a very tough situation what we are facing right now, and it can break you down mentally. To keep our moral high even in this phase, we need to have strong mind. Sometimes we want someone to inspire us, and so I sure Swami G, Swami Riyaz Baruji will guide us and will inspire our minds. So I hand over further proceeding to Dr. Parag Sancheti.
Thank you, Shinde sir. Good afternoon, everybody. We welcome all of you on behalf of Dr. Shinde, Dr. Karne, and the coordinators of this MOA Day, Dr. Prakash Sigedar and Dr. Sanjay, along with Ashok Sham and Dr. Ram Chadda. Good afternoon and welcome to this special program which we are organizing today for our association. As Sir has just said, MOA Day is something which we celebrate every year on the 1st of May, which is our foundation day. As Dr. Shinde has told, our foundation started in 1983 on 1st of May, and today we celebrate our foundation day. In the last 2 years, the way we have celebrated our foundation day is different. Now today, due to the COVID issue, we are having to celebrate it in a very different way. But thanks to Dr. Shinde, in the last 3 days, he has taken it up upon himself. And since morning, we have had a lot of programs. And today, this 4 p.m. program is a special program where we have invited Swami G, Riyaz, bharucha for this program. Let me introduce Swami Ji in short. So Swami Ji is a senior disciple of the international eminent Vedanta philosopher Swami Parthasarathi. All of us know about the Vedanta Academy in Lonavala, and it was founded by Swami Parthasarathi in 1988 and is the world's leading resource for the study of leader for research of Vedanta. And this academy has been there since 1988. Swami Riyaz got associated with it and has been working tirelessly for 2 decades with this group for the propagation of Vedanta philosophy. Swamiji has addressed diverse audiences on the subject of Vedanta both in India and abroad. He has addressed various corporates. Also, he conducts regular workshops on Vedanta in Mumbai as well as Pune, and has been a visiting Vedanta faculty at the destination Spa Ananda, and also goes overseas and does a lot of teaching and propagation of this philosophy. He has written several research papers on Vedanta which have been published in both national and international journals. And thank you, Swamiji. Thank you, Swami Riyaz, for having accepted our invitation.
Pleasure.
And we look forward to hear from you in these unprecedented days, how to handle the emotional stress we are going through. As our president just said, that there has been a dilemma. There is a lot of uncertainty which is facing us, and uncertainty gives rise to fears, to stress. So it will be a pleasure to hear from you on the topic which we have selected today, changeless peace in a changing world. And that is the topic we would like to hear from you. Thank you and welcome, Swamiji.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Sancheti. Thank you, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here.
Swamiji, my name is Ram Chadda. I'm an orthopedic surgeon, and I represent a lot of people who work with their hands, who use a little bit of their head and are governed by their heart. We are struggling today because we are looking at very volatile, uncertain situations where there is a lot of complexity and ambiguity, and we are not sure of what we are looking at tomorrow. We are struggling between despairing of the past and fearing the future, and in between unhappy with the present. We do know that we need to control our thoughts, which become words, words which become actions, actions which then become habits and character, and probably will change our destiny. We are looking forward to hearing from you as to how do we balance between our hands, our head, and our heart today.
Perfect.
So we look forward to how should we approach every moment and how should we win in future.
Sure.
Thank you, Ram. And over to Swami G for the further proceedings. Excellent.
Just quickly, let me just say I'm honored to be invited to your gathering, and without further ado, let's get on with what it is we are to discuss today, right?
Sure.
So there's a powerful thinker who we all know, a man called Albert Einstein. And Albert Einstein said that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. In other words, each of us is facing difficulties in life, right? Yes, now we are facing difficulties in life, but it is not as if we have not faced difficulties in the past. We have all faced difficulties now, in the past, in the present, and certainly we cannot say with any clarity that we will not face any difficulties in the future. So what are we here today to discuss, right? We are here today to discuss which part of this situation meaning life at present, which part of this situation meaning life at present we can control, and which part of this situation we cannot control, and then try and invest our energies in that aspect which we can control, because investing in something that we cannot control doesn't make any sense, right? Now, so Albert Einstein said that we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. Now let's see what exactly this might mean, right? So consider carefully that action is the insignia of our life, meaning every human being is alive, every human being is acting, and all action is driven by one fundamental urge, one basic purpose. And that basic purpose is not so complicated or complex. It is actually very simple. Everybody is doing whatever they want to do to be happy. Every human being is looking at trying to fulfill, satisfy themselves, generate an experience of happiness, joy, bliss, peace, fulfillment, all the same thing, right? Every human being is acting in the world for this. Now, when we do get it, right, when we take our actions in the world and when we do get what it is that we want, we say, great, I'm happy. When we don't, we say something is wrong, right? And the natural response of every human being is unfortunately to blame the world. In other words, what we are saying is, the world is not okay, so I am not okay. Even the gods are agreeing with us. So he says, even when the world is not okay, I am not okay is our perspective. Now, what do we mean by this? What we mean by this is that the world must be in a particular shape, in a particular format. The world can consist of a financial perspective. You like the world to be in a particular financial situation. You like to be in a particular physical situation. You like to be in a particular emotional situation. You like to be in a particular intellectual situation. Now, if any one of these fields changes, in other words, if the world presents to you a different financial format, or you experience a change in your health, or you experience a change in somebody's emotion towards you, you receive the emotion that you don't want, you want positive emotion, sometimes you experience negative emotions, you say, I'm not happy, I'm not okay, my mind is disturbed, my mind is under strain. Now, you're right, the mind is under strain, but there is a particular admission
Swami Ji, we are losing you. Can you?
Yes, just
Yeah, Swami.
yes, you can hear me?
Yeah, no, very well, very
Yes.
well.
So as we were saying, the situation is such that we say, if the world is in this format, then I will be okay. If the world is in another format, if the world is in another form, right, I will not be okay. I'm not comfortable. I'm not happy, right? Now, this is okay to say, right?
We are
Yes.
missing the presentation.
Yes, doctor, just give me a moment. Yeah. So here we are. So we say that when the world is in a different format, I cannot be happy. This is okay to say, but consider carefully what it is that we are actually saying. We are actually saying that I am completely dependent upon the external world for my internal peace. I repeat, we are saying that I am completely dependent upon the external world for my internal peace. Now, just stop and think about that statement for a moment, because though we have not made the statement, this is what we are implying, right? What is it that we really know about the world? The only one thing that we really know about the world, right, is that it is constantly changing.
Swami, you want to make it full screen so that we see the slide?
Yes. Is that better?
No, the full screen, just press on the full screen.
The slide is the slide is on the complete screen right now.
That's fine.
Yeah. Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah.
No, we can't see the full screen.
You
Okay,
just
hang on.
click on the.
Yes, I have just.
When to him, that
Yeah,
would be.
Is that okay? Doctor, yeah. Just give me a minute.
I think you need to restart the PowerPoint, maybe.
We can do that. Ashok is.
Yes, sir, I'm here.
Yes. So, what would you like me to do, Ashok?
Minimize the PowerPoint and restart it.
Sure. Just give me a moment. Yeah.
Just stop sharing and start sharing again.
Certainly, that will probably suit. Yeah. So, just give me a moment. There we are.
Okay.
Yeah. So that should, yeah, that should help. Is that fine?
Yeah, perfect, perfect. We
Yeah.
got it.
So as we were saying, when we live in the world, when we normally live in the world, we the world is actually quite a comfortable place, generally speaking. So we don't really have any problems. So we begin to be dependent upon the world. We do well financially, right? Our situation is good financially. So we believe, oh, you know, I'm doing well. That's great. When I'm financially doing well, I'm happy. Okay. And we see no problem with the statement. Then we are, by God's grace, we are physically healthy. So we say, okay, when I'm physically healthy, I'm happy. Then we say, you know, I have a wonderful partner. I have a wonderful person that I'm with. So when that person is happy and satisfied and everything is okay, I'm happy, right? I have a child. When my child is happy, okay, I'm happy. This is what we say. But consider carefully, not one of these things, not even one of these things we can control. You understand? Not even one of these things we can control. So the fact of the matter is, does it actually make sense to be dependent upon something that we cannot control for our happiness? Do you understand? We are not able to be independent of the external world for our happiness. Now, is there something wrong with that? Is it wrong to be dependent upon the external world for our happiness? Consider carefully, please, right? A simple analysis of the different species which populate the world, right? We have three basic species in this world. One is a plant, one is an animal, and one is a human being, right? We are trying to illustrate the different approaches that three different species have to life, with the idea of independence for happiness, right? Now, consider a plant is totally dependent upon the external world for happiness, completely dependent. You see? Completely dependent upon the external world for happiness. The plant just give you a full screen. So the plant has poor ability to adapt. The plant has no ability to adapt at all. You can't even expect a plant to go around the corner and just collect water for itself. Even that it cannot do. You understand? However, an animal has more adaptability. An animal is less dependent rather on the external world for its survival. It has more ability to adapt. Yet the adaptability of an animal is instinctual. It is not conscious, please, right? A human being is the top of creation. Very, very special, the very top of creation. Why? Because a human being is designed for complete independence, please. This is very important. Try and grasp this fact. A human being is designed for complete independence. And that means potential for supreme adaptability, progress, and ultimately peace of mind. So quickly to recap, the plant is totally dependent, very poor adaptability. An animal is less dependent, more adaptable. A human being is designed for complete independence. In other words, a human being is designed to be external world. Changes are going on in the external world. The human being, his design is such that he can remain completely progressive and peaceful by adapting to the new situation. This is our design. But alas, we have not made the most of our own potential. as human beings. In many ways, we are living the life of animals and plants by surrendering to our dependencies when we need not. So I will explain this further through the next slide. Right. Now, please carefully try and understand this composition. Right. I am aware that we are sharing this information with people who are masters of this level, the body, right? But we today are addressing this level, the mind, and this level, the intellect, right? So let's quickly come to the relationship between the body and the mind and intellect, right? So the body is your external aspect. This is your outermost aspect of your personality, your physical body. The physical body is like the body of a car, right? The body of a car cannot move on its own. It is driven from inside by the engine. In exactly the same way, the body of the individual is driven by his thoughts. Our thoughts and our emotions, as Dr. Ram spoke about emotions. So our thoughts and our emotions drive our body into action. He mentioned that there are three things. There's the thoughts, there's the emotions, and the hands representing action. So to go along with the same idea, every individual is made up of his actions that come from the body, but something that drives his actions, which is inside. So while the body is your outer personality, your mind and intellect comprise your inner personality. This is important to understand, right? So what is this inner personality? The mind, now please carefully consider this. I put this forward for you, to you for your careful consideration, please, because this is more important than we imagine right now. And an understanding of this will help you to deal with what is going on right now around you. If we are not going to be concerned about understanding this, we will not really be able to manage the outside world because we are not managing our inside properly. Right? So we are talking about what's inside you, right? Your mind and your intellect, which drives your body. Now, the mind is the seat of feelings, emotions, impulses, likes and dislikes. I repeat, the mind is the seat of feelings, of emotions, of impulses, of likes and dislikes. This is how I feel, you say. These are my emotions, right? This is my impulse. This is what I like. This is what I don't like, right? This is what you experience. These fall under the category called mind. Those of you who are familiar with a few words of Sanskrit, this is called manas. Manas, yeah, it's called the mind. This mind very often propels your body into action, meaning you act based upon your feelings, upon your emotions, upon your impulses, upon your likes and dislikes, right? Now, also, a human being possesses what's called an intellect. The intellect is what is in Sanskrit called buddhi. Buddhi means intellect. So a human being has a mind, which is called manas, which is feelings, emotions, impulses, likes and dislikes. But a human being is also equipped with intellect, which is our ability to think, to reason, to judge, to decide, and then take an action. Now, please, for a moment here, please consider carefully the difference between the mind and the intellect. Please take a moment to consider the difference between the mind and the intellect very, very carefully. The mind is the seat of your feelings, emotions, impulses, likes and dislikes. The intellect is your ability to think, to reason, to judge, to be logical, to be discriminate, to be analytical, to be scientific. You understand? Your intellect. Now, every human being possesses both, right? Every human being possesses both. Now, consider very what would happen if the personality is driven by the mind. Think very carefully what would happen, right? Imagine a human being's life. A human being's life that is driven by his feelings. Means you act basically upon your feelings. Whatever you feel, your actions follow what you feel. Your actions follow your emotions. That means if you're happy, if you're in a positive emotional state, your work goes well. But if your emotions are not in a good position, suppose you are disturbed because your son didn't do very well in his exams, or your wife is not very happy with you, or your husband is not very happy with you, or whatever it is, emotions, different emotions, or a little jealous of something, or a little angry about something, right? Immediately it affects your actions immediately. Or we have some impulses, right? Or we have some likes and dislikes, right? Imagine a life based upon the mind. As you will imagine, this is the behavior of a child. An adult does not act upon his emotions, feelings, impulses, and likes and dislikes. That is not an adult's way of functioning. That is a child's way of functioning. An adult is meant to think, meant to reason, judge, and decide regardless of what he is feeling emotionally. This is what we would call maturity. It's not a big thing. It's just called being mature. Just because I am angry doesn't mean I lash out at you. Just because I'm disturbed does not mean I don't continue my duties. Just because I am super excited does not mean I can jettison my duties, right? Just because I like something doesn't mean I should do it. Just because I don't like something doesn't mean I should not do it. You understand? Now, this is the problem every human being is faced with. The mind is with you since birth. Every child has a mind. Please try and understand this very carefully, right? Every child has a mind. This mind dictates the life of the human being until the age of roughly 10, whereupon after the age of 10, the human intellect is available and should be developed. This is the point. The intellect should be developed, but the problem is that the human being does not develop the intellect. I'll explain, right? The human being does not develop the intellect at all. So what happens is these two facets are constantly playing in our lives. Please consider this next slide carefully. The mind is like a child in you. It is impulsive. Everybody's mind, yours, mine, everybody's mind. Yeah, manas, the manas is impulsive, irresponsible. The mind is demanding. It is directionless, dimensionless, and unstable. Please consider this carefully. Look at what I'm talking about, right? This thing, feelings, emotions, impulses, likes and dislikes are impulsive, irresponsible, demanding, directionless, dimensionless, unstable. On the other hand, The intellect is like the adult in you. It is discriminate. It is responsible. It is reasonable, mature, and stable. Buddhi, right? Again, the mind is basically self-centered. Means the mind is only concerned about itself, right? Consider again, whose feelings am I concerned about? My feelings. Whose emotions? My emotions. Whose impulses, likes and dislikes? My likes and dislikes. So the mind is by definition self-centered, very, very selfish. You understand? The intellect, on the other hand, is your responsible, reasonable, mature aspect within each person, which gives you the ability to be conscious of your surrounding and unaffected by it. Conscious but unaffected. Mind is demanding, directionless, self-centered, affected. Intellect is conscious, unaffected. So the mind can be compared to water in a river. Two examples we'll give: water in a river or the engine of a car, right? So water in a river, what is the example we wish to illustrate as far as water is in a river? You see, the water in a river is flowing. Now, it is important to understand that as long as the banks of the river are strong, the water can be used for beneficial purposes. It can be harnessed. But the moment the banks of the river are weak, in that area, the water will break the bank and cause damage instead of benefit. In exactly the same way, the intellect is like the banks of the mind. The intellect must at all times control and harness the mind, like the banks of the river control and harness the water. If the water breaks the banks of the river, there will be destruction, damage. Similarly, if the banks of the mind, which is your intellect, right? If the mind breaks the intellect, if your feelings, emotions, likes, dislikes, impulses take over your thinking, reasoning, analysis, judgment, there will be destruction to your personality, both personally and professionally. This is not a curse, this is a fact. It is like putting a 4-year-old child in the position of management of your organization. How can you do that? You cannot do that, right? You know you cannot do that. Yet, internally we do that. So the mind can also be compared to the engine of a car. However powerful the engine of the car, every car needs a steering wheel. So the intellect is meant to drive the mind like the steering wheel of a car drives the engine. Engine may be very powerful, mind may be very powerful, emotions may be very powerful, right? Feelings may be very strong, but your intellect must at all times control and harness your mind. At all times. How do we mean at all times? Not for a moment can you let go of the steering wheel of your car. Not for a moment. Similarly, not for a moment is a human being allowed to let go his mind's feelings, likes, dislikes, emotions, impulses to do whatever it wants. That is extremely dangerous and detrimental to the personality. Now, let's give you a little idea about what happens. So what we are trying to illustrate at this point is the importance of the human intellect. Now, the problem is that most people are not aware of the existence of the human intellect. I'll explain, right? Most people are not even aware of the existence of the intellect, right? So what happens when the intellect is not developed, I did mention that the intellect is supposed to be start being developed from the age of 10, right? From the age of 10, 11, any of you who have children roughly that age, that's the age in which the intellect must start being developed. How it is to be developed, we can explain, but it should be developed. Now, what happens is the age of 10 comes, goes, but no intellectual development takes place. So without intellectual development, look at what the mind does to your personality. Look at this next slide now. What does the mind actually do to your personality? Carefully try and follow now. We did mention that the mind is full of likes and dislikes, right? Everybody has likes and dislikes. That's not a problem, right? But consider carefully what happens when your likes and dislikes are not controlled by your intellect, right? These are just a few points, please, just trying to illustrate to you the dangers of not controlling your mind with your intellect, not controlling your manas with your buddhi, right? So consider the personality is full of likes and dislikes. Now, what's very interesting to note is that what is it that you like? What is it that we like? Things that give us instant gratification, correct? What is it you don't like? Things that are a little hard, right? Correct? They're a little bit hard. So you go with what gives you instant gratification and you avoid what you have to put in little extra effort for. Now, ironically, the fact of the matter is what is immediately pleasurable is not good for you. What is a little difficult is very good for you. Example, it is not very pleasant. It is very lovely to laze in bed late into the morning, right? Very comfortable to laze in bed late into the morning, right? Now, especially during this time when we are not sometimes answerable, I sleep till 8:30 in the bed. Sometimes people will lie, right? Now, that's nice. It's very pleasurable. It is not nice to exercise. You don't like to exercise, right? But what happens if you continue to laze and don't exercise at all? Is it not harmful to you? Is it not damaging to your physical health? You people would be advising me more than my advising you on this fact, right? So what you like to do is not good for you. It is delicious to eat vada, pakoda, burger, chips, all that. Very nice. Not nice to eat sprout, lettuce, spinach, all this, not nice. But if you continue to eat pakoda and samosa and all that and avoid the other, you know what happens, right? So what you like is not good for you. What you dislike is beneficial for you. But when the intellect is not available, you jump for what you like. And that causes very serious problems. Right? You avoid what you dislike. See, even sometimes some personalities are very good for you, but they're not pleasant. They tell you where you are wrong. I think all of us, most of us are married, so we know exactly what we mean, right? The partner is telling us, no, you are wrong. You're wrong. This is not okay. What you're doing is incorrect. Now, we don't like it, but sometimes they're right. What they're saying sometimes is correct. So we don't like it. So we avoid that. We say, no, you are wrong. You are wrong. I am right. We ignore it, right? So what you like is not good for you. What you dislike, what is hard, is beneficial. But without an intellect, you choose the wrong thing. It's like a quinine tablet coated with sugar and sugar tablet coated with quinine. You understand? So somebody presents what you like is like a quinine tablet coated with sugar. Quickly you put it in your mouth, but soon the sugar goes away and you're left with mouthful of bitterness. You understand? And dislike is like sugar tablet coated with quinine. Okay, it's a little difficult in the beginning, but if you just hold on a little bit, if you persist a little bit, it produces wonderful results. But without the intellect, who is going to help us to choose correctly? The mind chooses the wrong thing. Now let's look at the next one, right? The mind has a tendency to ramble. The mind rambles into the past experiences. I think Dr. Ram mentioned this. The mind rambles into the past experiences and it worries about the past. Worry, 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 constant worries, 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 constantly worrying. Or the mind becomes anxious about the future. What will happen? What will happen? What will happen? What will happen? Now, what happens when the mind behaves like this is it is bouncing between the past and the future, past and the future, past and the future. Can you guess what happens? You are never available mentally to perform present action. You are never mentally available to perform the present action. So what happens is the present action suffers. The only thing that you do have control over suffers because the mind is either in the past worrying or in the future being anxious. So worries and anxieties are bouncing your personality past, future, past, future. So you're never ever in the present situation. You understand? The problem with this is it completely exhausts you. It leaves no energy left to work. I think most of you will have experienced this. It leaves no energy left to be in the present, to do what you ought to do right now, because the mind is so concerned about the past or the future. It is never in the present. So present action suffers. The Americans are excellent at gathering data. So they said that in a 10-hour day, right, the average human being only is able to focus 3 hours. In 10-hour day, 3 to 3.5 hours is the maximum focusing time that a human being has. But he collects salary for 10 hours. But he's only in the present for 3.5 hours in the day. Can you imagine the loss of productivity? Tremendous loss of productivity. Next, the mind has uncontrollable desires. Uncontrollable desires. Whatever we have, the mind wants more. So the mind is compared to fire. You know, whatever you put in the fire will consume and it will be ready to consume more. Right? Uncontrollable desires. Now, there's no problem as such, but what happens when you don't get what you want? The mind becomes restless. The mind becomes rebellious. The mind becomes angry, frustrated. So the more you get, the more you want. The more you get, the more you want. Unfulfilled desires equals mental agitation. I repeat, unfulfilled desires equals mental agitation. And the mind is a past master at creating desires. You just look outside and somebody has a 7 series outside, somebody's 7 series is parked, and our thoughts are, he has a 7 series. I also should have 7 series. You understand? This is how the mind behaves. Now, unnecessarily, desire of 7 series is stuck in your head. You follow? Now you'll get the 7 series, no problem. But is that okay? Is that enough? That guy will change from 7 series to A8L. No, it's called A8L. Finished. Now immediately we jump. He's changed. I also must change. His location is X. My location also should be X. His prominence is X. My prominence also should be X. So the mind keeps you unhappy, restless, constantly restless, chanchala, asthira. The mind is always restless, unhappy, dissatisfied. This is the mind without intellect to help. And finally, the mind has an ability to get attached. The last one, if you observe on the slide, the last one, the mind has this tendency of binding itself to everything it contacts. Mentally, you get bound mentally. I'll explain, right? What we mean. A young boy meets a girl. He gets mentally attached to the girl. So what happens? Then any change that occurs in her life, he's affected by it. A young boy starts a profession. he becomes mentally attached, bound to the profession. So every change in the profession changes his mental position. This is not a level of human maturity, please. This is not the design of a human being. This is not the way a human being is supposed to live. But since everybody is living like this, we really believe it is normal. This desire, likes, dislikes, attachment, this is the uncontrolled desires. Uncontrolled attachments are the cause of the stress that the community is facing right now. Stress. Because the world is not going to leave your attachments alone. The world is changing. You are attached to something. Now you are attached to something, but the world is constantly changing. You understand what is going to happen? You will experience instability because you have attached to the world. Because the intellect is not there to be reasonable, saying it's all very well right now, but this is not a permanent situation. There is nothing permanent in the world, right? As Adi Shankaracharya, he says in the Bhaj Govindam, he says, Nalini dalagata jalamati taralam tatvit jivati atishaya chapalam, which means life is like a drop of water on a lotus leaf. Life is like a drop of water on a lotus leaf. Which one of us here in this forum has a label stuck on the back saying 100% you will live for 85 years? Which one of us has such a label? Which one of us? Yet when the intellect is not available, we become attached. And any little change we take as a personal affront. No, change should not take place. Change. What is the big thing we are saying right now about the current pandemic? Please consider, in the 80s or the 70s, there was AIDS, then there was SARS. Then you are more equipped to advise me in these matters than I am to tell you. After that, it was swine flu. After that, it was bird flu. After that, so mad cow disease. So many things have happened. Agreed, the scale is different. But any of these situations has changed the world, right? So which one of us can say that I can be attached to the world and nothing will change? Everything changes. Life is like a drop of water resting on a lotus leaf. If you have an intellect, you can enjoy that drop of water while it lasts. Enjoy it for what it's worth, because nothing is permanent, please. Absolutely nothing is permanent. So therefore, it is the mind that is the unstable factor within the personality. So stability can be understood as the intellect managing the mind's activities. Stability, right? What we need is to be stable, right? Especially as honored members of a profession that you are, you need to be stable. You need to be strong. Now, if the intellect is not available, please consider either your feelings will disturb you, or your emotions will disturb you, or your impulses will disturb you, or your likes and dislikes will disturb you. You will become like a child, impulsive, irresponsible, demanding. It is very interesting to note that I am told, I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm told that no doctor is generally allowed to operate on his own family member. Why is that? Because the emotions come in and he fumbles. This is what I'm told. I don't know. But this is what I'm told is an unofficial rule, that it is better not to operate on your own family member. Why? What if you are the best? Why should your family member be denied? Because the intellect is not developed. The mind takes over. We are attached, right? We are worried, we are attached. What happens if I fail? What happens if I fail? What happens if I fail? Right? Desire, uncontrollable desire. It must be a success. It must be a success. That disturbs the action. And we fumble. So just to give you an idea about what stability is and what instability is, right? So please consider this graph, right? It's an interesting graph. Here, line AF represents where the intellect is controlling the mind. The person is called sane. In line BF, the personality is now controlled only 75% by the intellect, 25% by the mind. It's called emotional. In line CF, 50% of the personality now is only controlled by the intellect, 50% is mind. That means 50% of the time you're acting on emotions, impulses, feelings, likes and dislikes, right? Then in DF, 75% of the time is functioning on the mind. Only 25% is functioning on the intellect, the life. And finally, in EF, 100% of the time, the personality is functioning on the mind, on feelings, emotions, impulses, right? This, please, is called sanity. A personality degenerates to emotionalism. And from emotionalism, the personality degenerates to eccentricity. And from eccentricity to hysteria. And from hysteria to insanity. This is the fall of the human personality, please. This is the degeneration of the personality. To have emotion is a virtue, but to be controlled by our own emotions is a danger. To have sentiment is a virtue, but to become sentimental is childish. To have a passion is noble, but to become passionate is dangerous. So at all times, the intellect must necessarily control the personality. Now, your question is, of course, but we have been doing this all along, right? We have been attempting this for a long time. So what's the big deal now? Please consider there is a difference between intellect and intelligence. Intellect we have explained as the ability for discrimination, reason, analysis and judgment. Intelligence, please, is externally acquired information, right? Intelligence is becoming well informed in one or more subjects. This is a very crucial point. Please pay attention. Intelligence is becoming well informed in one or more fields, right? This, let's see what this means, right? Here you'll find what it means. So intelligence is knowledge or information, right? Wisdom is transformation. There's a great difference between the two, please. Intelligence is information. Intellect gives you wisdom or transformation. Intelligence is being well informed, able to earn a living, meaning your standard of living goes up. Intellect makes you wise, able to conceive and achieve both prosperity externally and peace internally. That's very different from earning a living, please. So while intelligence gives you a standard of living, intellect only raises your quality of life. Standard of living is measured by what you can buy. Quality of life is measured by your ability to handle challenges of the world and remain peaceful. Please consider this very carefully. There's a great difference between these two. Schools, colleges, universities only give intelligence. Those of you who are, by God's grace, comfortably off financially, you will send your youngsters to expensive colleges all over the world, which will burn a huge hole, $40,000 a semester, only for intelligence, please. Intellect, you will have to build yourself through a study of the subject we are right now communicating, called Vedanta. Intelligence you can get from outside. Intellect, you'll have to build by yourself. Right? So most people develop intelligence thinking it is intellect. Therefore, they become very well informed. They hold positions of great prestige and power externally. But when faced with a simple challenge internally, they become weak and shaky. They are not able to manage a simple internal challenge. You understand? They become attached to something like a dog. And if the dog dies, oh my God, they can't do the work the whole day. They become incapable, unable. You understand? Intelligence, I repeat, gives you standard of living. Intellect raises your quality of life, the ability to deal with challenges, please. Right? So, while intelligence is what the world is focusing on right now, intellect must be developed only by yourself. And just as you use a gymnasium to build your own muscle, nobody can do it for you. Only you have to do it yourself. In exactly the same way, Vedanta is the eternal knowledge of life and living. Vedanta is a gymnasium for your intellect, please. Vedanta is the gymnasium of the intellect. But unfortunately, nobody is aware, nobody is concerned, nobody is bothered about this vital knowledge. Everybody is only concerned about external knowledge of the world. They are not bothered or concerned about knowledge of the self, of their own personality. So the world is developing better amenities, better facilities. But the moment a situation like this arises, everybody becomes shaky. Because we know a lot about the world, but we don't know anything about our internal makeup. You are a human being, please. A human being is the chef d'oeuvre of creation, which means the top of creation. You are meant to raise yourself to a position whereby whatever happens externally, you are perfectly peaceful and stable internally. So neither your likes and dislikes, nor your desires, nor your emotions, nor your impulses are meant to hijack your personality and take action directly. It must be passed through the filter of your intellect. But where only intelligence is available, then the intellect is lacking because nobody knows about the intellect. And so, no matter how much intelligence you have, you succumb to desires. We succumb to emotions. We succumb to external pressures, please. So, Swami Vivekananda is known to have said, conquer your mind and you'll conquer the world. Today, we want to conquer the world. You can never conquer the world until you conquer your own mind. What is the mind, please? Quickly, to recap. The mind is that child in you, impulsive, irresponsible, demanding, directionless, dimensionless, selfish, so selfish. The mind, not anybody's fault, please. That is just the structure of the mind. Self-absorbed. What is in it for me? What is in it for me? What will I get out of it? What is going to come to me, right? If we keep functioning like this, the mind is always going to be restless because whatever we have, we want more. Therefore, he says, conquer the mind and you'll conquer the world. This is what the mind does to you. Worries, anxiety, uncontrollable desires, full of likes and dislikes. Stability is intellect controlling the mind's activities, please, right? Otherwise, without the intellect, the personality becomes either emotional or eccentric or hysterical or insane. What is insanity? Intellect is completely unable to control the mind. What is sanity? Intellect is perfectly able to control the mind. Not stifle the mind, not suppress the mind, only manage the mind like an adult manages a child. That's all, right? Having said that, it's not so easy, right? Intelligence is not intellect, please. They are different. Intelligence is mere knowledge, mere information. Intellect is wisdom, transformation. Intelligence gives you a high standard of living, but that's all. Intellect gives you a high quality of life. And Vedanta is the gymnasium or the field or the food for which the intellect consumes and becomes strong, right? And then you are in a position where you can say, I have conquered my own desires, which doesn't mean suppress your desires. It only means you are in control of your desires. It doesn't mean you suppress your likes and dislikes. It only means you're in control. You yourselves, I'm sure, when you face a patient, right? You face a patient and the patient is diabetic. So you tell the patient, look, please understand, we have sorted out your matter right now, but you are not allowed to eat sweets. Please, you're not allowed to eat sweets, right? The patient says, doctor, I really like sweets. I really know. I really, really like it. Your point is, sir, I appreciate, but you are not supposed to eat the sweets. He will go home, he will eat the sweet, the wound will not heal, he will come back. What will you tell him? Sir, I told you, right? Don't eat the sweets. I cannot help you. He is a victim of his own mind. I have known people who have killed themselves, who are diabetic, they have killed themselves eating sweets and left behind a family to fend for themselves, merely because of addiction to the tongue, desire to eat, desire to drink. They have literally killed themselves through drink, not to mention many other things, please. Right? So you have to conquer your mind, and then everything you can control. Because finally, to conclude, it is not the world that distresses you, please, but how you relate to the world. It is not the world that pleases or pains you, please. It is not the external situation right now. No matter what we believe, it is not the external situation that is disturbing us right now, but how we are relating to it. In other words, it is not the stairs that are disturbing you, but it is not the stairs that are disturbing me, for example, but my lack of fitness to climb the stairs. It is not the road that is too long, but my lack of fitness to walk the road. It is not the world that is a problem, please. The world will constantly be in a flux of change. That is not anything new. But how do I relate to that world, please? Am I going to relate to the world based upon my mind? Because that is a childish, immature way to live. Or am I going to consider at this point in my life, the intellect must be developed post haste, right? And start developing the intellect. So basically the interface with which you relate to the world must be the intellect and not the mind, right? Then he says, it's not the world that distresses you, but how you relate to the world. Relate to the world on your mind and you'll always have a problem. Something or other will always be at odds with your desires or your likes and dislikes, or make you worried and anxious. Face the world with your intellect, develop the intellect, face the world with your intellect. You will be always able to relate to it reasonably, rationally, logically, and you'll always be stable. That is the message of Vedanta. Now, we conclude here. Those of you who have questions, please feel free to ask the questions. We would be able to take them up. Yes.
So fantastic lecture, Swami Riyaz. It was really very enlightening, very engrossing. You know, we were, every time you spoke something, my mind was relating it to COVID, though you didn't say it so specifically, but I knew that was in your mind, but we were correlating, you know, how we are jumping from behind, from our past to future, and not staying in the moment, from the difference between the intelligence and the intellect. I think it was very nice. So we can have one or two questions, because actually, Swamiji, we have a program very soon starting.
Certainly.
But we can have a few questions.
Sure.
Ram, you can give some comments, and then Professor Shinde will also speak. Ram.
Riyaz ji, that was fantastic. You've really shown us the way forward. I appreciate that you've told us that the mind should be our servant and should not be our master.
That's right.
And we've sort of understood that very well. You've also told us as to how there's a difference between knowledge, which is available on the internet today as well, which is information,
Correct.
compared to wisdom and transformation, which comes by dumping a lot of the knowledge out and keeping only what is necessary. You've also told us how to move from selfishness as a child to selflessness and then to altruism, where people like you have reached. I'm really, really touched by the fact that you've actually, in your own words, shared with us how we have evolved from plants to animals to human beings, and how we have the intellect to control the mind, and we're not driven just by the pains and pleasures, which is what keeps us in the survival and safety phase. But now we are moving to right and wrong, where the conscience helps us decide, and that's how we become stable and successful. But one thing, Swamiji, which I would like to know from you is, we as doctors would like to also climb the second mountain of significance. And how do we move from this stage of selflessness to altruism? Is there something more that we can do to leave a legacy, to be significant, to have a purpose beyond what we can see?
Great question. So your question is basically, how can I truly, truly contribute to the world? Correct?
Absolutely.
Very simple answer. Leave your I behind. Just leave your I behind. It is undoubtedly the hardest thing to do, but please consider, who are the ones who have truly, truly been beacons and leaders in society, right? Truly speaking, they are the ones who never thought of themselves. Never ever. So the more the mind, as you observe the slide, the mind is self-centered. The mind doesn't let go easily. But the more the intellect is available, the intellect plunges into what is called obligatory duty. See, our obligatory duties come in different grades, right? The regular duties, daily duties, and occasional special duties. But when the intellect can focus on our duties rather than our desires, this is the way to leave behind a legacy. This is the only way to do it. Forget yourself. Just do what you ought to do with no motives, please. No motives. This is my duty. I am a doctor. I have to do what I have to do. Not only will you sleep perfectly well at night, but you will be truly remembered. And incidentally, please don't worry about being remembered. Just do what you have to do. You will be remembered.
Yeah. Yes, so Dr. Prakash, so you want to make any comments, and then Shinde sir will speak. So Prakash, any questions, comments on Swamiji's discourse?
Yeah, thank you, Swamiji, for an excellent elaborative talk how to get over this situation. Most of the times, everybody knows what is wrong, what is right, but there is some conflict of interest, and then the people are stumble that whether it is whether to go or not to go, right or wrong, and then situation falls in the different direction. So, if we conquer over that conflict of interest, definitely we win the situation. And in our real life also, there are many situations where we know what is right, what is wrong, but there are certain situations there we cannot decide about where to go. And
why that happens is because in certain areas, the intellect is well above the desire of the mind. There is no confusion. But where the intellect and mind, there is a desire in a particular direction that confuses the intellect. And the intellect says, shall I do this, or shall I, just go with the mind? Right? So the intellect has to be developed to take supersedence.
Thank you very much for your nice and
Shinde sir.
It was an extraordinary presentation.
Thank you.
I'm sure it will change the philosophy of our life, not only in this situation, but forever. Swamiji has explained in very simple words the difference between intelligence and intellect. So, to conquer the world, and COVID, we need to conquer our mind. Thank you, Swami Ji, for enlightening us. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. It's been
Thank
a
you.
great
Thank you.
pleasure. I hope some of you will go away with some idea of this, and you're welcome to contact us. Dr. Parag has our details. Those of you who wish to delve a little deeper into this science, please feel free to contact us. We would be able to connect you to weekly sessions that we have in Pune, Bombay, internationally on how to develop the intellect.
Yeah, definitely. So Ashok,
Yes, sir.
Ashok, any comments or questions? Not many people know that you are also, spiritually oriented, but I would be happy to hear your comments.
I think that was a very enlightening talk, and it's so much rationality into it that you can't really escape it. My question, so I had a question about the same. So I now realize after your talk, and I could put into words, that we are in constant conflict between mind, intellect, and intelligence. So the fight continues. So how do we tilt it in our favor, or any tips and tricks? I know it's a constant evolution. There is
So,
no overnight solution to it, but
in
yeah.
simple terms, while you're gathering your certifications and developing your technical skills, don't ignore your personal development, please. Don't ignore your personal development. Take a little time, once a week, right? Is all that is suggested to at least connect up. Dr. Parag's two family members both are very much involved in the subject. You can contact them, Rupal and Manisha. They are both very much connected with the subject, and they would be able to give you first-hand information about how this is helping their own lives directly. So yes, of course, technical information is very important, but you can't concentrate so much on technical information that your own personality is in shambles when a crisis arises. You can't afford, it's imbalance. You can't do that, and that is what everybody is doing. Not only you, please, everybody is doing that. Lawyers, uh, accountant, businessmen, all wonderful until a challenge occurs. The moment a challenge occurs, they become like jelly, completely. I'm not saying you are becoming like that. I'm saying they collapse, and then they turn to all superstitions. They don't, they lose their logic and reason. I know a very, very senior member of one of the top professions of the world. His daughter was unwell. He didn't know what to do. So they started all sorts of superstitious activities. Go to the doctor, get the problem sorted out. Why are you becoming superstitious? Because he was only very intelligent. He was not at all intellectual.
Correct, correct. So fantastic, Swami Riyaz. We want to thank you from our association, from all the executive members, from our president, Dr. Shinde, Dr. Sigedar, and all the panelists who have joined, Dr. Ram Chadda, Dr. Patil, Dr. Karne, and Ashok Sham. Really, thank you very much, and we look forward to connecting with you again. And I would request Professor Shinde to give his concluding remarks, being the president, and then we finish off.
Sure.
Shinde, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everybody. Bye bye. Pranam to you.